I'm Woodsy Owl with a bird's eye view of America's beautiful homes and neighborhoods. But look what happens when grown-ups and kids don't give a hoot about pollution.
But Woodsy, what can we do about litter and vandalism?
Just spread the word. Give a hoot, don't pollute. And if you see litter, please pick it up. Because if you don't give a hoot, who will?
In the city or in the woods, please keep America looking good. Hoot, hoot.
Alright, today just happens to be the 4th of July, and I wanted to do a video update on my sign collection, specifically my outdoor sign collection. I call it my indoor-outdoor sign collection. I made a video of that 3 years ago. Unfortunately, it got a whopping 33 views, and I've checked with the dreaded YouTube, and my video popped up when I typed in National Park and Forest Service sign collection or something to that effect, and my video showed up, and virtually only my video showed up. There are a few people, I think, that are showing some replicas that they were currently selling on eBay at that particular time, and I say replicas. People unfortunately are not using the words replicas, or might say reproduction, but most of the time they don't, and also they use the word vintage in almost every single listing, whether it's to talk about an original sign or a reproduction sign. And the reason how I got started is years and years ago I was at a swap meet, and there was a guy that had National Forest property boundary signs for like between $2 and $5, and I took what I could get, and they were very beat up and very used looking, and probably were very used, because this guy would get stuff at, different auctions. I don't want to say government auctions, but that sort of thing. I want to go through the different places where people can theoretically procure signs outside of swap meets, and I'll just show you a couple right here that I have in my current room right now. The Hiker Trail sign here, and the Cold Creek Trail Camp. I believe this one was a swap meet purchase, and that was an eBay purchase. Both actually used in real settings there, so very, very cool. Both of them on wood. That does not mean that every wood sign you come across is an actual sign. There's a lot of them that I used to see that I don't see anymore. Maybe the company that made those has stopped making things, the Chinese company or whatever. Some of them are made in the United States, but a lot has changed in the last few years that I have not looked here. So let's just do a little bit of investigative research here. We'll just start off with the last page I was looking at before my camera shut off. And this one here is a sign that says Vintage Forest Service sign, Agricultural, National Park Porcelain Gasoline sign. The people throw gasoline in every single listing. Forest Service has nothing to do with gas, but again, that's just what happens. So you end up seeing a lot of other things that you don't necessarily need. That's not a problem there. But, of course, vintage. Okay, what does that even mean? They're trying to tell you that vintage usually means a certain, age bracket there. But look at all these other Forest Service signs. Vintage, porcelain, 12 by 12. And again, these all have certain mounting holes. Some of them are in the right place, some of them are in the wrong place. There's two down here. I'll bring the camera closer. National Park Service, a rare size, and this one here. With two different colors for the exact same sign. Maybe they want you to think that this one was faded in the sun, but they all have mounting holes and rust spots on them and scratches. And that way they don't need to make a perfect sign, and each one is a little bit different, and they can get somebody to buy something, because from a distance it looks old. If you have an old-time cabin, that's the kind of thing you want to put that in, or an old barn or shed or whatever, and it makes it look cooler. But I don't want anything that's technically used. Now, how do you know it's not used? How do you just have to kind of do some homework and figure out sign specifications? Years and years ago, I learned that some guy wanted to make a sign for a highway because people were kept on getting into crashes and wrecks somewhere. Very highly illegal what he did, but he was an artist, and he went and he watched videos and found all the different things online on how signs were made and the specifications. So he changed it, and for the longest time nobody saw it or knew it, and that was there and was helping drivers get to the right spot, without missing their exit or whatever. And so, have to kind of study how things are put together before you start going and seeing flashy old advertising and think everything is real or reproduction. And a lot of times people miss things because the reproductions sell for more than the real ones. I saw a real sign last night that sold for $30 odd, and it's not another one that you could probably get. It had a specific campground name or some sort of national park, state park on it, and that was gone. And it sold for very little because it was not enameled or porcelain like all of these are, and it's not, and unfortunately a lot of these things get listed as enameled porcelain. Now I wanted to show you some other ones here. This is called the wildlife tree. And I'm very, very familiar with this sign here because I actually have one of these in my collection. This sign is something like 4 inches by 4 inches. It's very, very tiny, tiny little sign. And I don't know when the design is, but the design has kind of like that 70s era look to it, or 80s, and they still use it to this very day, from what I understand. You can get those probably brand new, and I'll show you that in a minute here. But this one sold for $30 because it's got a cool design, but people don't realize how small it is. Now, it's also popular because it is small, and you don't have to put it in a big space, but people are currently paying $30 for that, where, I paid something like $8 to $10 for my sign back in the day. No reason. And then there's these plastic vintage U.S. Forest Service wildlife tree do not disturb plastic signs, okay? But again, they're listed as vintage. Now these are legit real signs here. I've done my homework on those, and we'll zoom in very quickly here because this is the camera not to be really doing that, but there's that one there. Hopefully you can see that well enough. And these were sold for $6, so that's a very fair price there. Now I'll just show you here. And then there were some people that after I bought mine got into a crazy bidding war and ended up like, I don't know, it was $40 or $80 for one of these dinky little Forest Service signs. But again, if you can see the decorations on the table there, that'll tell you how tiny that sign is. Very, very tiny. But everybody and their aunt and uncle are buying those. There's one that's 2 of those for $50 plus $5 for shipping. And I would say a hard pass on that, unless you know what you're doing. If you hit the right auction and swap meet, it should only be $5 for that little sign there. Oh, there's just another reproduction sign there. But it's crazy that these signs have rust in different places because they stack them and make rust go on there, and you can sometimes see shadows of other signs that laid on there. It was pretty funny. We'll go back here. Those are just some other cards there, trading cards, National Park trading cards. And here's a bunch of signs here. One person from each party, please register here. Some of these are cardstock signs. Some of these are, plastic signs. And again, if you're looking for, actual true vintage items, there's not going to be hundreds of items that are going to sale. There's going to be 1 or 2. But these are, informational signs that are printed up by the gazillions, like these little tiny signs here. They have them on every specific little thing. So once you leave the National Forest boundary, because sometimes it borders on somebody else's property that's not belonging to them, different governments and sort of things, so they have to have all these signs everywhere. They get lost, damaged, replaced, or stolen, and eventually make it to, and these are just, surplus signs that somebody bought or got, many years ago, and they're just selling them, and people are buying them. Some of these are little metal signs here, but like these vintage U.S. Forest Service signs here, even though that's only $8, there's people that currently ask $30 and $40 for those because A, they don't know, and they have people that were born yesterday buying stuff. Now, there's some other property boundary signs. And property boundary, oh, here's another one here. Please do not put trash in the toilets. It's extremely difficult to remove. So that's kind of collectible and funny. But when I saw this sign, I saw that says Unicor, Lompoc, California. So I did a little research and figure out what's Unicor. This sign was put together by Unicor. It looks like Woodsy the Owl or somebody. Yeah, it's W for Woodsy. And I don't know if Woodsy is actually still really used anymore. There was an ad with Woodsy the Owl that had Jason Hervey from Wonder Years in it. And I thought that was kind of cool. So we want to look at this, and I just typed in Unicor, and I found the Unicor website. Now, this is a government type of website with different informational signs, federal stores, doing business with us and all that stuff. And I don't know exactly if you are allowed to buy from them, but it looks like kind of the way it's formatted, kind of looks like the Uline catalog with all different kinds of signs. And you can go to Uline and get very many, almost very identical, similar signs here. But I was seeing many of these exact signs on eBay on this website here from Unicor. And so I'm going to show you if I can find that sign here. We want to go to Let's Campgrounds and Camping, Fire Prevention. And the funny thing is some of these were actually cheaper than eBay, and some of these were, you know, double eBay. So I thought that was kind of funny here. Fire Prevention. Let's see if I can get this to work here and show you one of the signs that I saw here. Actually, let's go to Firewood. Oh, darn it. I wanted to show you that one with the let's see, welcome signs, the decals, tree cutting. Let's see, road and trail is what we want. Maybe that's what we want. Yeah, so there's lots of these. There's a hiking trail 12 by 14 sign here. Motor vehicles prohibited, and that's a very awesome looking sign there. Almost everybody that collects signs should have one of those in their collection. I think that's really, really awesome to have one of those. You know, and then I'll show you the price here, I believe. This is a 12 by 14, $13.50 each. And again, you have to, I don't know that, I just wanted to show this for informational purposes. If you can investigate Unicor and get some of your favorite signs without having to deal with eBay, then that might be better for you. I just don't know. And again, not knowing what kind of shipping is involved in these here. But, you know, and people will get a better deal if you buy them in bulk. There's no ATVs, again, but there are different sizes and purposes. You know, a lot of the signs that you see are custom made by some of these companies for, and again, all kinds of government organizations will use very, very similar signs here, but this has a U.S. Forest Service logo in the corner. And what's crazy is that, you know, theoretically these are logos that are still in use today and you shouldn't be reproducing them, but they're all reproduced, you know, so I do not like to get into, you know, copyright issues with other people who think that they have the copyright and people that think they don't. This is just one company that makes, a lot of states and municipalities make their own signs well too. I wanted to show you another one here. Horse users, that's a horse user sign there. Again, I saw some but again, these are brand new signs you can get right today, made the exact same way as many of the ones on eBay are listed as vintage. Now, I'm not saying that I won't get some of these signs. I actually will get a few of these signs in the future to add to my collection. I'm not saying that I can get them from Unicor, but I just wanted to show you that one there. And this website, you know, $12 for that sign. And usually they will tell you if it's a plastic or cardboard sign. This one I don't think says, so I don't know. Oh, here we go. 11, non-reflective with UV guard, white and brown background, brown and white text and graphics. So I'm not exactly sure. Non-reflective with UV guard, so I don't know if that metal or really don't know. So we have to do a little more homework on that one there. So there's that one there. And again, I'm not saying you can buy signs from Unicor, but this just gives a great tool to give you an idea of what is out there and what is currently being reproduced. And you know, so these are not vintage signs. These are fresh off the line. But everybody that gets these secondhand will call them vintage. And again, so whatever they say, please stay on the trail, switchback. Shortcutting destroys the vegetation. Believe me, I know. I've seen all kinds of, you know, I call them illegal trails. You know, the people are just nice shortcuts to other things, and it's kind of a shame, you know, because I just want to go on that one trail and that one trail only. And, you know, it may not be plants that you consider valuable, but I consider it, you know, destroying the kind of the view if you've got all kinds of damaging trails. And again, some of those trails will have garbage down there. Now let's see if I can find some other stuff here. Those are the vintage cards there. I found these on eBay. These are all beat up and scratched. These are 8x8, so they're not super huge. I don't know if I have anything that's that particular size here. And this is $30. It looks like there's a grilling spot. That's what they call the grilling spot. And then this is a hiking sign. I believe I do have a slightly larger one of those. But again, those are cool, and Hobby Lobby reproduces very similar ones to these. So again, you have to be very, very careful. One says eat, sleep, hike, and repeat or something like that. I have that because it cost me nothing to get that sign at a thrift store. It didn't really cost much at all. And I was very happy to have that one. And again, I know it's reproduction because it's so kind of campy. Get it? Campy? And let's look at a couple other ones here. This is the one I wanted to share with you here. I think this might be real, but I'm not 100% sure. Leaving San Isabel National Forest, U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's got some beat up mounting holes. It's on the right kind of aluminum. It's kind of scratched there, so probably it was a real used sign there. And that one sold only for $40 plus shipping. But something like that, if it's advertised properly, then it would have been probably $90 or $110. Again, it's on aluminum. People say they want the porcelain signs because technically, according to the American Picker's Guide of everything all collectible, those are the ones that you want. But those are the ones I would say avoid and stay away from. There's just too much information that I could use in this particular video, so I'll have to probably cut this off at just before the 20-minute mark here. And I just typed in, National Forest. Now I guess I could type in State Park and stuff like that, but you get so many, way too many, items that you have to kind of limit your look here if you're looking. This is a popular one here that sold. This had 21 bids on it. And I actually did a search on Google, which I have closed, and an AI gave me a review. I said, why do people put so many bids on reproduction signs? That's what I said. And then AI came up and gave me a thing saying that people just want the look and they want to buy a sign that they can't afford or can't find otherwise. A lot of these are real signs or imagined signs. And again, this one is on, porcelain. What was the point of that? Because most signs back in the day were not porcelain. And if this was a real porcelain sign, think of it, it was probably shot with bullet holes. Everybody and their aunt and uncle decided that they wanted at some point go drinking out in the woods and start shooting up signs. Every street sign, you got pelted by a rock. A truck comes by, a rock hits it and chips a big chunk of the sign off. I've got one that's blasted with holes. And the reason it said protect our forest lands or something like that, and it is just absolutely obliterated, shotgun blast or something. And you cannot for the life of you try to even bend those holes out with a hammer. I tried that and my hammer just bounced off and almost smashed me in the face. But it cost me nothing because of holes in it, but it's an authentic sign that somebody destroyed. But again, this one is over and over again with slightly different bits of rust on it in the corners there. And again, unfortunately, look at this one here. If you look at this sign here, and go down to the description. If I can get to it here, we're almost finished. And take a look at my, again, original reproduction. Time period, manufactured 1930 to 69. Now again, I'm not seeing it, and somebody, but again, if it was an actual real sign, why would this be only $130.50? And a lot of people say, well, there's so many reproductions out there, somebody got a good deal. That's what happens all the time. People think, oh, they got a good deal, that's going to be, but again, these rust stains on here are not indicative of the rust stains you would normally see on an old sign there. Again, these are stored poorly on purpose so they can be sold. Again, these ones here, again, 200, and the prices are very arbitrary. Exact same seller. This one here, Vintage Forest Service sign pours, one is $192.91 and one is $224.95. And the people that have these silly little numbers here, like an extra 91 cents versus 95 cents, they're playing games with you for the whopping 4 cents. And it's like, oh, it's only 4 cents. No, it's not only 4 cents. It's, hundreds of cents, thousands of cents. So you gotta have sense. And then when you buy these signs, you have no sense. Again, it's pretty funny how that works. Smokey the Bear, anytime somebody sees Smokey the Bear, believe me, I've been there. Whether it's like little stuffed dolls or some sort of sign, and they look at it and see the damage on it, oh wow, this is old. Even to veteran collectors. Not vintage collectors, veteran collectors. They don't collect veterans, but it's just funny how that works. We're at 18 minutes here, so we'll just finish up here. But again, and then the signs that I was looking at here, here's one person from each party register here while entering this area. I saw a new one, and I think they wanted $15, and the one here on eBay is only $8. And I might grab that one, but I think this is also a Unicor sign. And then I'll go back to here. And this one I was looking at, again, a lot of these are recently produced signs, but they've been making some of these for 20, 30 years. Believe me, I'm in the business of buying and selling things, and not used things necessarily, but new things. And I see things that were made better now or worse now, and it just, but made almost the exact same way 30 years ago. There's things that are made 75 years ago, 100 years ago that are the exact same as today. The same kind of plastic finish on it and all that kind of stuff. But cool signs here, and again, this particular seller will give you a deal if you buy a couple of them, from what I understand. Close the seat and door when leaving. That's a kind of funny toilet sign there. So if you just want something that's funny and decorative, that's all I mean. It just depends on what you're doing with these things and how you're displaying them. But that's my video kind of buyer beware type of thing here. And I hope everybody has a great Friday, and thank you for watching.